PHNX Sun Devil Show. Happy Thursday. I'm your host, Shane Diefenbach, for the day. Erik Ruby to my right. How we doing?
I feel like we started way up here in a matter of like 2 seconds. Yeah. We went from up here to reality set in, and now we're all the way down here.
Because I'm here at my job that I love to do, and
right.
I was like, job time, happy time.
Yeah.
Ooh, bad
but
thoughts.
What's the topic today?
Bad thoughts.
Yeah.
As you can see from the thumbnail, the tweets, the YouTube title, the description, everything.
His demeanor.
It's not the most fun title. It's not the most fun thing to talk about, but it's something to talk about, and we get to, be happy that we get to do this job every day.
Yeah.
Unlike some other people that weren't really happy to do their job yesterday.
Oh, buddy. Yeah. It was a very ugly. Hey, if you missed it last night, ASU men's basketball left the Pac-12 with an absolute stinker of a performance. If you missed it, congratulations. You saved some time. You saved your eyes. But we also had a pretty interesting post-game show as well, but 90-57. And the aftermath has a lot of ASU fans, people covering the team, people on the outside that are just fans of Pac-12 basketball, really just like looking at the state of this program as it now enters the Big 12 and thinking, what's next? What went wrong? Like, how is this fixed? And there's so many different things that kind of play into it. And now we're left to kind of sift through the rubble for the entire offseason.
Yeah, we had a lot of things to get into today. We'll start with some stuff from the sound from last night, the post-game presser. Then obviously we'll talk more about the future and what that holds, and if the sound changed anything for us or you guys as well. And then we can talk more about conference tourneys and just see where the convo takes us. But first, Erik, before we move on, I just want to ask you in the chat a simple question: is this the lowest point in ASU athletics history?
Man, it's recency bias is a hell of a drug, but it's hard to say no, because if we're just taking the last year and a half, 2 years into account, with the state of football. And listen, to be honest with you, so many things are right about Arizona State right now in athletics, but when it comes to the wrestlings, the triathlon, the swim and dive, it's hard to just be like, yeah, everything's terrible. But then you look overall and you kind of got to say, yes, ASU basketball has no identity, has no heart. They have no money in them, and they just had one of their worst seasons in the last 9 years under their head coach everybody was so excited about. ASU football has 6 wins over the last 2 years. And while things look better, nothing is guaranteed. And so it's hard for me to sit back and be like, yeah, it's been worse than this. But I'm not one of these ASU fans that have been watching for 50, 60, 70 years, and know all the ups and downs. But I don't know.
Yeah,
what do you think?
When I was writing the headline, I was like, am I being dramatic? Am I being, again, recency bias? Is it? Am I just sad about the 33-point loss that was never really closer than that?
Yeah.
But then I also thought, no, this team doesn't have an AD, or this school doesn't have an AD, and the fans are so checked out of most sports, and it's not like you're getting. And I know wrestling just won, and there's a lot of other good things to look at, but it's not like you're getting your other sports to pick you up. You're not getting a good season from softball like you were in the past. You're not getting a good season from baseball.
Nope.
You're not getting a great season from hockey. And yeah, your other sports, your smaller sports that still matter, but revenue wise, they don't do much.
They matter to like the individual athletes, the people who want to go and support that. But when you talk about athletics on a whole, on a collegiate level, like you have to look at it in a certain way. Even like personally, I would prefer like what the sports that I did growing up were not like the major like basketball, football, but like, and so for me, it's like I love that stuff, right? But when you sit here and you talk about the overarching like how or the state of an athletic program, there are certain things that weigh more. And in all the categories that weigh more, ASU is falling up short.
Yeah.
And they don't have somebody to try and fix it right now because not only do they not have an AD, they have a president who just simply doesn't care.
Yeah. I'm always, the Michael Crow thing's always really interesting to me because as a school president, he's doing a fine job.
Honestly, it's almost annoying how good of a job he's doing.
Yeah.
Because it means his job security is very, very strong. And it sucks because you are right where like the fan buy-in's very apathetic right now. And then that almost...
I wouldn't even call it apathetic. It's just like, it's non-existent.
That's fair. I feel like that almost gives Crow an excuse to like tell himself that it's okay, that he's right.
Yeah.
But what he doesn't know is that like there's this monster on the other side of buy-in and resources that could be there, but will never be there unless everything is put in the right position.
Sharon saying, super sad title. I'm not too down on ASU sports. I really feel like football is moving upwards, and I'm really excited for hockey next year in the NCHC, if 100%. Basketball is very sad, though. So, yeah, I mean, hockey is getting into a conference next year, which is very exciting. That's going to bode well for their tournament hopes, because if they drop a couple big games in the season, it's over for them. Now it's kind of like they're moving to the Big 12 where their losses aren't going to mean as much and be as detrimental to their tournament hopes. But and football, 100% it's moving upward. We were talking before the show, like they've already reached their rock bottom. It feels like, hopefully. I mean, they've won 3 games in 2 years, or 6 games in 2 years. Like you got to assume that the only way to go is up, and obviously. We believe in what Kenny's doing, and we believe in the younger class, and we believe in a lot of the guys that came back that should be an impact on the field this year. But you still have to point to the fact that is the future, and this is now. And when you look at right now and you break down right now, you don't have an athletic director. We'll get to the sound in a second, but it feels like Bobby feels like what we're feeling. And and the other sports aren't doing great. And Mark pointed out, when you have to point at individual sports, the entire athletic department isn't doing so great.
Yeah, listen, there is no secret right now when it comes to ASU athletics, whether you're an ASU fan or you're a fan of another school. And I'm sure that everybody over there in the Big 12 is not threatened one bit. And they shouldn't be. And you mentioned Bobby. Some of these cuts we're going to play, they're going to be on a little bit of a longer side. But when we were listening to them, we think it's really important for you to hear like his whole perspective. And so what we're going to play first is there was no questions asked. There was no setup to this. He sat down at his media availability and they said, we'll give you space for opening remarks. What would you like to say? This is what that was.
Yeah, I mean, it was ugly out there on our end for sure. Feel bad for, number one, Alonzo Gaffney, who came to me a couple of years ago, and you always get a little sentimental about your seniors, but helped get us to an NCAA tournament. So to see him, he wanted to come back, and then for him to kind of be put through this tonight to finish his career, it just sucks. So feel terrible for Gaffney. He was visibly upset at how we were defending in the first half, and it's one of the few times I saw someone exhibit a lot of emotion, and then Frankie, if you watched the last 15 minutes or so, when I wasn't calling something to get the ball in his hands, I was probably calling it for Gaffney, just because I felt like he deserved to be rewarded for how he was competing and how he was trying to make things happen. And outside of that, we didn't do a good job. This is not acceptable for what my vision is for our basketball program. It's just, it's not, we're not in a good place right now. And it's a terrible way to end it, and got to get back to the drawing board.
Oof. First of all, for all of you guys that say he doesn't run an offense, he ran the offense through Alonzo Gaffney late last night.
I'd rather just don't run an offense, to be honest.
It is interesting to hear him say, talk about how he was getting the ball to Gaffney, obviously, because that is the one guy is out of eligibility and is gone and has contributed a lot to this program. But also him talking about getting the ball to Frankie. And when he first started that quote, I was like, ugh, that scared me a little bit. But obviously then he followed up with, because of how much he's given to this team. And that's great to have one guy that is going to try to lead and be that focal point of an offense or lack thereof, just of the team.
And we'll get into it. He also commented about the game plan without Jose. But I mean, part of the reason why he said that he started calling plays for Alonzo is because he looked like the only guy out there that was really showing emotion besides Frankie and was actually trying. Not because Alonzo Gaffney is the guy that you run the offense through, but because nobody out there really seemed like they gave a crap.
And because he's gone.
And because he's gone and he feels bad. And Gaffney was the kind of guy who had the chance to leave. He came back. He was like, I want to make a tournament. I want to play well. And it's like, I mean, you can see it in Bobby's voice. He's absolutely dejected. JJ in the chat says, Bobby, this season aged that man. Yeah. And why wouldn't it? I'm sure that he's feeling the effects of all this as well. And we'll get into more, but he's not happy with where things are, which is the right reaction. It's the right feeling. Nobody should be happy with what's going on. And so I sit back and I'm like, man, what can be done? And I know that Bobby's going to try to get out of this. I know he's not just going to sit back and just let whatever happen. But you almost just look at this and think I don't know, man. We talked about Bobby last night, a clean slate, and nothing against Bobby. And I like Bobby, but I mean, listen to what's going on, see what's going on, man. It's not going right.
But I also like how he responded to this loss, and it's the one thing I love about Bobby is he's always going to keep it honest with you. If you ask a dumb question, he's going to say you asked a dumb question, and I've seen that before many times in the media room. When you ask him how this game went and you lose by 33 points, he's going to be like, we got smoked. We got our asses handed to us. He will shoot it straight, and you'll see this in this next answer when he was just asked about the last Pac-12 tournament. What does it mean and how does it feel to know that this is the last Pac-12 tournament as it is and as you guys will play in it? And his answer is pretty great.
I mean, you have a vision for something better. It's that's going to be the lasting memory of us playing in the Pac-12. Wow. I mean, that's a terrible, terrible memory. And 9 years of being in this league and coaching in this league, and it's going to be gone. And that's how we chose to go out. It's doesn't feel good. I don't know what Frankie wants to say.
Yeah, Frankie says he feels the same way. I mean, morale's at a low point, man. And I do appreciate he doesn't come in, he doesn't sugarcoat it, and he's like, you know what? I'm just glad that we fought hard. This team get everything it had in really tough circumstances. And you're right. I do appreciate that about him. But I just it's just depressing. It's depressing to hear him speak like that. It's depressing to look at the overall state of the athletic department and this program specifically. And I don't.
Yeah, but the thing I'm taking out of this though is that it's not a guy who doesn't give a shit. And
he's never been a guy who doesn't give a shit. That's never been the problem with Bobby.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm like, obviously that's never been a problem. But right now, where everyone's assuming this is people think he had 1 foot out the door, and it's so clear that he never did.
No.
And yeah, he's such a guy that wears his heart on his sleeve. He always has been on and off the court. And one thing you can never question, and I know no one questions this, is his work ethic and his passion for the game and for coaching this team. And this one hit him a little bit differently because we've seen him dejected. I remember the post-game press conference after they blew that 20-point lead to Stanford and lost on the James Keefe buzzer beater 2 years ago. And that was emotional because you had Kamani Lawrence next to him who was crying. Bobby was tearing up. That one hit hard because he knew that such a great run and a team that had a chance to make a deeper run because they were playing better basketball.
Right.
Was just ended, and you could see that. But that was a different type of sad. That was a different type of emotion that was felt. That wasn't this like this is like you hit rock bottom, as we said, where you look at yourself in the mirror and you splash water in your face. You say, we got to change something. Something's got to change because this can't keep happening.
Yeah, and in some of the answers that we'll get to in a second, Bobby does mention the fact that there is change that needs to happen. There is revamping that needs to happen, and he discusses, what went wrong. But before we get to that, like, it's the tone that Bobby is speaking in, where it's like, it's no longer to the point of like, it's not anger, right? It's like I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. Like, that's the tone that Bobby is approaching with all of this. And I don't take that as an I don't care. Like, I take that as a, man, losing really gets to me. Like, being in this situation really gets to me. And I feel for him. Like, even Sharon says in the chat, like, I feel sad for Bobby. I really want it to work for him. There has not been a day since Bobby Hurley has been hired to be the head coach of Arizona State men's basketball that I have not been absolutely pulling for that man to succeed. Like, I have no personal qualms. I think he's a fantastic guy. Players love him. Like, there are very good things about Bobby Hurley, the head coach. But then there's also just some glaring deficiencies that come with ASU's program and with the entire thing that he has also helped build that make it seem like he might not be the best fit. And I've always said this not always, but for the last couple of years, like, to me, Bobby feels like the kind of guy that would be like an absolutely elite, high-level assistant coach at a blue blood program, like somebody that can relate to the players, somebody that can go out and recruit, but isn't handed the whole responsibility to basically save a program that is on a ship with holes in the bottom of it.
I strongly disagree with that. I think he needs somebody to help him fill his deficiencies on especially the offensive side of the ball, but he needs a coach that'll be more involved. I think he's a great leader, and I think that him as an assistant coach would be a waste. And I don't think he's ever going to slot into an assistant coach role. If he does move on from this team this year, he's not going to settle for an assistant coach role. He's going to get a job somewhere else. It's not that he should be supported or he should be supporting somebody else. It's that he needs to be supported better by not his staff. And I'm not saying his staff is the problem. I'm saying he needs to look at himself in the mirror and realize that he needs somebody. And I don't know if I doubt it's a pride thing and it's just how this kind of thing has gone, but somebody needs to get in there and help him with his deficiencies because there are a lot of them. And we talked about it last night with some of his better teams and at Buffalo with Nate Oates. Like, you had a guy that was so good at running that offense and making sure it ran smoothly, because that's everyone's biggest argument right now. It's the same thing every year. You don't have an offense and you can't shoot the ball. And I don't know if that's the players he's recruiting that just don't know how to shoot, or actually I do know that it isn't a lot of the players that don't know how to shoot, because you see guys like Bryson Long who can shoot the crap out of the ball, and you see guys like you think back to the Rob Edwards days when it was working. That's because they had an offense and the threes were wide open. It wasn't just this, okay, there's 10 seconds left on the shot clock, now we're going to start action, because the first 20 seconds we were running the Princeton, we were going back and forth and nothing was working. So I disagree with you on that point, because I don't think he would be well suited as an assistant coach. I don't think it would really even work as an assistant coach, but I see where you're coming from. I just think it needs to be the other way around.
I mean, that's fair. I think we're on two sides of a similar coin, whereas like he is not able to do this by himself, and he does need to have some sort of change to fully get the best out of Bobby Hurley. And he was very candid in the final Pac-12 media availability for this team, and he was just asked straight up what went wrong. This is what he said.
Well, I mean, we gotta revamp the roster. I have to get on the phone, and I've been on the phone, and I have to encourage people that have the wherewithal to try and support what we're doing. I have to go and especially with this transition, I've watched quite a bit of Big 12 basketball. It's a strong, physical, these games are it's for men, grown-ass men in that league. So, we have to make some changes. I don't know. I feel like you could say a lot of things about me as a coach, and you could be critical of a lot of areas and different things that you may not like about my coaching style and my offense, my philosophies on defense, my in-game decisions, my rotations. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into being a coach, but I don't think you would say that he's not going to fight or battle or get his team ready to compete and fight and battle. And I failed miserably in that regard because, this is not a reflection of my belief system in terms of just effort and will and, knowing what it feels like when your season's on the line and you have to play for your season and that's the effort that you get. So that's my responsibility, and I failed miserably. So that will be a primary prerequisite as I start evaluating what needs to get done to rebuild our team.
There's a lot to take out of that answer. There's a lot to dissect. First, I just want to start off with when Bobby is looking down to his left, it's not because he's ever looking at somebody. That's just when he's giving a thoughtful answer, he's staring right at the table and sometimes at the stat sheet, but usually just spacing out and digging deep. And that you could tell that answer came from the heart. Look, the first thing that everyone's going to point out, obviously, is him saying we need to revamp the roster. And whether you think that means going in and getting a ton of new players or making sure that the players that stay and can get ready to compete in the Big 12, something has to change, and he knows that. He called the Big 12 that is a grown-ass men's league.
Yeah,
like that is what it is. We talked about it yesterday. Like these games are bloodbaths. TCU is an 11.5 point dog to Houston. That game's still going to be a bloodbath. Like this team isn't ready for it. It's not at all ready for it.
No.
And he knows that, and he took that to heart. He took that to heart that they weren't ready to compete today, and he takes pride in making sure his players are ready to compete, and they were not ready to compete yesterday, and that stung bad.
And we've talked a lot about Bobby, but in the last soundbite, which we'll get to in a second, like there's also a ton of weight when it comes to all of this on the players. And yes, it is a coach's job to make sure that they're ready to compete hard and to put them in the right position to succeed. But there was zero heart. You can't coach heart. Like you either have it or you don't. And Jose Perez might be the perfect example and encapsulation of this team as a whole, to where when the going got tough, people just quit. They just quit. Like the Utah game was never close. They got down like 8 early, and then that was it. Everybody was wide open after that. Utah smelled blood, and they killed them. It was over. And then you think, oh, maybe they'll come back in the second half and they'll have one of those classic, like ASU pulls it with an 8. And then you really think, like, are they going to do this? And then they end up losing by 15 or 20. No, it was the same crap in the second half. And Bobby said that it doesn't represent who he is. And I agree with him. Bobby is not the type of guy to where if you can just take a drop of Bobby Hurley and say, we're going to make this a basketball team, that basketball team would try harder than their opponent. They would be out there and they would be giving it their all. And they weren't doing that. And I don't know if that's a reflection of Bobby Hurley or that's a reflection of the guys who were actually passing, dribbling, and shooting the basketball.
Yeah.
And not all of them. Like Frankie Collins still gave his all. Like he said, like Alonzo Gaffney was like showing emotion. But the reality is, most of those guys looked like they were sleepwalking last night.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think it mattered if they started off the game hitting their first 3 threes and they went up 9-0. They were still going to lose that game. They just weren't ready. They weren't prepared. They didn't want to win. They didn't want it. Like they just didn't want to be there anymore. And yeah, Bobby took that to heart for sure. So we'll get into the last soundbite in a second, but let's breathe, take a break. Coach MB, I see your comment. I'll get to that after our first ad break, but we got to talk about some BetMGM because there's a lot of great stuff going on right now, and I'm jealous of Damon right now because he just gets to watch. I mean, he has a remote in his hand. He's just watching some of the greatest things go on right now, and that's conference basketball tournament season. It is the best season to bet on sports with BetMGM because you know what you get?
Tell me.
You get so much entertainment from watching the games, but also you get so much entertainment from looking at the app and tapping it and making sure you're locked in to the live spreads because they update fast and the best over at BetMGM. Guys, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, what are we doing? Sign up for BetMGM using that bonus code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the BetMGM Sportsbook mobile application for at least $5, and you'll receive $150 instantly in additional winnings, regardless of your wager's outcome. I mean, go check out the bet show I just did. We got some bangers today.
I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen you so excited.
Bangers.
You said today was the best day of your life.
Today is the best day of my life. You know what today is?
What?
Creighton and Providence.
I will vouch.
Come on.
When he found out that was today, I don't think I've ever seen a human being that
Baylor,
happy.
Shireman, primetime TV. Guys, as I said, download that BetMGM Sportsbook app. Deposit $5. Use that bonus code PHNX. And you can check out the show notes for full details. But now, listen to Damon talk about the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-UP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117. For confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., Mississippi, New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
It's a good day for betting. It's a good day for making money. And it's always a good day for saving your money. And
Always.
if you're going to do that, you can do it with our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union. But I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to say my friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union, because I've been using DFCU basically my entire life. And that's not an ad read. That's just real cold, hard facts. And I can tell you from a personal experience, every time I've walked in there with a question about anything, if I needed any sort of service, even if the line was long, even if it was 10 minutes before they close, which I usually try to avoid doing that, but sometimes it just happens. The people are fantastic, and they are the official retail banking partner of Arizona State University. And for more than 84 years, they've been Arizona's largest and most trusted local credit union. So you know what? I won't be selfish. They're not just my friends. They're your friends too. Shane, they're your friends as well. They're everybody's friends. And you know what friends do? They give you a free $200, right, Shane?
Yeah.
Right?
Let me
free $200?
Shoot.
Oh, see.
I'm all out of scratch.
And that's what makes DFCU so
it's
great.
all on the Dayton Flyers.
Yeah, I'm about to say, but when you hit, I might need to hold that $200.
Yep.
But Desert Financial has got me covered. You can open a free checking account online, get $200. Plus, for you Sun Devils, you can get your choice of 3 Arizona State University Visa debit cards. You can go to desertfinancial.com/ASU to get started and to get that $200. So to finish off the Bobby Hurley and a little bit of Frankie Collins, what we got so far, sound, of course, going into yesterday, they were saying on the pregame broadcast before the game started at like midnight, and they were talking about Jose Perez. And they were talking about the weird situation that the team is in, how it's very unprecedented. And they were asked, Frankie Collins and Bobby Hurley were asked, what does the preparation look like? How is the game plan different when you go into a game without arguably your best offensive player? And the answer wasn't exactly what you would expect.
Without Jose, was there any chemistry problems or just general adjustments you have to make when something like that happens in such an unusual situation? And Frankie, I don't know if you could address that too. What was the week like for you guys?
I mean, it's hard to, game plan when us as players don't go out there and play hard. I mean, they can give us the game plan all they want, but if we don't go out there and play hard and, try and get stops, if you see in the first half, every time you turned your head, somebody was open. So, you can't really blame the game plan for that.
As far as Jose, I think it's our construction of this team and how we played a lot of the year and a half court offense was playing through Jose. He was the one kind of reliable post-up option where we could play some inside out, and it was all we had was outside in, and that's what we were. And then so to have to rely on that solely was not easy. So, but yeah, we gotta go rebuild the front court, rebuild everything, just start over. Almost.
That ending was real interesting because he caught himself. We have to rebuild everything. Almost. What did you take away from that?
Yeah, I don't think the turnover is going to be as much as the last 2 years. I'll answer Coach Evan B's question earlier. I think you're losing probably at least 2 starters. and then Gaffney as well. So, but you're returning some other key guys. I think you're going to return Braylon Green, maybe Akeel Watson, and you are getting a really good class, a good transfer JUCO and 2 high 4-stars, and they're going to need to be ready to play immediately. But Frankie and Adam should be back, which is huge. Like having your 2
good thing
front
to build
court
around
is back. But as Bobby said, like it is hard to adjust when you had to completely, change your entire offense when that entire offense wasn't good in the first place. This team just wasn't ready. But I isn't it crazy? I mean, I think it was JJ that commented it earlier, like the Obama thing going from the start of his presidency to the end. Like Bobby was aged for sure. You talk about a guy who was aged in the process of being at ASU. That's Frankie Collins,
dude.
And not in like the graying haired, like sad way. It's like he's matured so much, and not to say he was immature when he got here, but I mean he was a guy who came from Michigan as a freshman that really didn't get much playing time until the tournament. He didn't start any games at Michigan until he needed it to, and then he comes to ASU and he's expected to just take control, and he tried to do that as best he could last year, and he had some more veteran presences that definitely helped him, like your Cambridge brothers and your Warren Washingtons, but he didn't have that this year, and this was his team because he was the returning guy. Like Jemiah Neal came back, but even Jemiah was still fresh. And I know he had been here longer, but only 1 year longer, and he was a freshman. Like so, Frankie has grown so much off the court, and obviously he's grown on the court, going from a guy who really couldn't find his shot and was pretty out of control most of the times his first year here. But a good facilitator and a good defender to an elite defender, a guy who can create and a guy whose jump shot you had to start respecting. Right. So to see his growth is great. But going back to the original point about Bobby saying he has to revamp the roster, I mean, I think that's what we expected. Like, and again, I don't think everyone needs to freak out to say like they're only going to return 2 guys, because I don't think that's the case. But this is the new age, and revamp doesn't always mean new players. Like revamp means as I said before, like the players that are here need to wake up or leave.
And I mean, I would also hope that maybe Bobby just takes some time and thinks like, how can I get the most out of these guys? Maybe his approach isn't the wrong approach, but maybe for the group of players that he has, it needs to be a different one. And I've been hard on Frankie at certain points this season, but only because he's the only guy that I really placed extremely high expectations on for this team. And I think that says something to who he is as a player and what you kind of want to bank on for him. And like you said, defensive end, he gives you absolutely everything he's got. On the offensive end, he has grown tremendously, and he is somebody that not only do you have to respect, like he can be your leading scorer on a lot of nights. And that's not something that I expected from Frankie Collins when he first walked in the door at ASU. And so to see that growth and then to see him at the end of it all, like in a clip that we didn't show you, he was asked about, being the kind of guy to show up every night and to rally everybody and to be the one who's giving it his all. And he said, yeah, that's great, but it's also my job to get everybody else ready. And he's like, and everybody else wasn't ready. He's like, so I failed as a leader. And then, of course, that parlayed into his next answer where you just heard there, where he was like, guys didn't show up ready to play. Guys were leaving Utah Utes open the entire first half. And the game plan doesn't matter if you don't come out there and you actually want to execute it. Yeah. And so he doesn't just go in there and point fingers. He took responsibility for people not being ready because he is the emotional leader and he's also the actual physical leader of this team as well. But you feel for him because it does feel like the team quit on him. It does feel like the team quit on Bobby and they put up an embarrassing performance, but there wasn't a second of that game that I looked at Frankie and was like, damn, he's not trying. And you have to respect that a lot more than a lot of other performances for the Sun Devils last night.
Yeah. I want to get to Sharon's comment. She said, Hurley needs to talk to Daly about things they look for in the right players, building a culture, building NIL, etc. I know it's different sports, but Daly's guys played with heart last year. This is something that I can understand where you're coming from, but I disagree with because I think Bobby's players, for the most part, play with heart, and this was an anomaly. Like a lot of the times when they get boat raced, aside from this game and the end of the COVID year, it's because they just didn't have it and they could not shoot, and the game was already over. This game was over from the tip. I think most of his guys play with heart all the time. That being said, I think he can learn something about NIL and investing into that and getting more into the community. And I think he realizes that. And I think the two are supporting each other, and they should continue to do so in the future. But yeah, there's a lot of things that obviously went wrong. And JJ brings up another one, how little Jemiah Neal was implemented in the last two games. But I don't even know if that's him not being implemented and just him not being there. Like he just didn't seem like he wanted to be there.
No, and it is tough because you heard it in, I believe it was the first or the second answer that Bobby gave. He was like, you can question my in-game coaching decisions. You can question my philosophy, my offense, my defense, and everything like that. He's like, but something that you've never been able to question about me is the fact that I've been able to get my guys to care. And he's like, but tonight, I failed at that tonight. But I think in reality, Bobby probably feels like the team failed him because there is a certain aspect of personal buy-in and personal choice that comes with putting your heart into it. And if I was on that team and Jose Perez quit on me with basically one game left of the season, like I'd take that personal and I would go out there and I would try my hardest and I would try to prove that wrong. And I didn't see that from everybody. I saw that from Frankie. I saw that a little bit from Gaffney, but not as much as it seemed like Bobby was saying. And I'm looking at everybody else and I'm thinking to myself, like, where were you? Like where were you, and why not care? Yeah. Because I get it. Like the team's in a really bad place right now. It's in a really bad place right now. But what's your response? Go and make it worse? Like, how does that help?
Yeah, there are team wins and then there are team losses. This was 100% a team loss. Aside from a few players, it was the game, as I said, was over before it started. And you know, I think that this is the lowest point we're going to reach. And I don't know if it's the lowest point ever, but it's definitely the lowest point for right now.
In the Bobby Hurley era?
Well, I'm talking about ASU Athletics. I think you only really go up from here because there are a lot of good things to talk about and there are a lot of positives. And the main thing is you can see like where things can get better, but things have to go right. You have to hire an AD that wants to make change immediately. I think the most important thing obviously is to hire an athletic director, but to hire an athletic director that immediately is like, all right, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. Yeah. Like you set your action plans immediately right now. And it's going to be refreshing when they have that, because ASU fans are just sitting here right now, and there are not a lot of good things to look at. But you also have to remember, guys, there's no athletic director.
No,
like there is no athletic director, so that should change, and hopefully it does. But what doesn't change is my unwavering support of Circle K and how it's America's thirst shop and Shane's best stop. And you know, when those chicken tornadoes are grilling and those taquitos are firing, the roller hot dogs are going, you know it's going to be a great day, and it can turn around your day real fast. Erik stopped by the Circle K last night, grabbed us some Four Peaks, and we had ourselves a blast.
I was sad I couldn't get you your chicken taquito, man.
Yeah,
I was real sad. I felt disappointed for you, but it was because they were so tasty and they were so good that Circle K didn't have any left.
Yep, they are tasty. They got pizza, coffee, ice cold fountain drinks, taquitos. They got it all. But man, nothing is better than being in that inner circle. When your basketball team doesn't have an inner circle, you can turn to Circle K with their inner circle. Join that inner circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details.
Yeah, after last night, you know, I would say we were riled up a little bit. We were pretty sad a little bit. And sometimes you just got to take the edge off. And one of the best ways that you can do that is with our friends over at OG's. And OG's has launched 2 new products made with live rosin and RSO. The OG's Naturals, that's the vegan gummies for those of you out there. Some call them the Chris Paul gummies. And the Big OG's, which is a big one that's perforated into 10 milligram slices out of their 100 milligram big gummy. The thing about OG's is that they taste incredible. If they were just regular candy, like there was nothing in them whatsoever, like I would be eating them all the time.
They are elite.
And Totri put the OGs in the fridge, which I've never done before.
Have you ever had frozen like Sour Patch Kids?
I haven't. No.
Very similar.
Okay.
Frozen Sour Patch Kids are insane.
I see the vision.
Chat, anybody?
Chat, let us know. Or let us know if you put your OGs in the fridge. And the thing about OGs is that they are so popular because they're scratch made here in Arizona. They taste delicious. They feel good. They're the best edible on the market, the best thing that you can find here in the state of Arizona. So if you want to learn more about OGs and where you can find them, because to be honest with you, the biggest problem with OGs is that everywhere I go, they are sold out. Like you want to go and check and you want to call before you drive in there, because as soon as they restock, people go in and they buy the OGs. So you want to make sure that you're able to get that, and you can do that going to ogsbrands.com. Again, reminder, you must be 21 and over to enjoy them responsibly, but you can definitely enjoy them, and that's the truth.
Yeah. Sharon, we should have an AD in the next month and a half, I would say. I assume it's going to happen in the next, I think probably before it gets too hot is my guess.
I would hope.
I'm going to set that deadline. We'll see. Couple things I want to get to in the chat. Coach MB says it's going to be even lower next year in basketball. We're going to get stomped on next year. Something I talked about last night is I think next year is going to be different because of the style of play. I think as weird as it sounds, I think ASU's and specifically Bobby's style of play translates a little bit better in the Big 12. Obviously, the talent is way better, and as Bobby said, it's a grown-ass men's league, 100%. But they're going to be forced to run, and I think it's going to help the offense a little bit. That being said, you got to get better. You have to get more talent on the roster, and you have to make sure that you're ready to play night in and night out, because these 15-point losses on the road are going to turn into 45-point losses at home if you don't figure it out real fast, because these teams punch you in the throat. JJ saying, I'd question the effort on defense, but the offense, how many baskets did Phillips missed last night there? Phillips or just, I mean, a lot of people, but the effort wasn't good anywhere. It's not great.
There are things that need to be changed. It doesn't have to be a completely new entire roster. Technically, it doesn't have to be a new head coach, and it's looking like it's not going to be a new head coach. And the Big 12 is a more physical style of play that could lend into Bobby Hurley's favor for sure. But at the end of the day, it's all coming down to the recruiting class and the JUCO transfer. Like that is like next season, and how good next season is dependent on who can come in and make an immediate impact. And that's just plain and simple. Like, unless they come out here and they add somebody else in this offseason because somebody leaves and they're like, oh, wow, like they snag that's a ready-made college basketball player who's already been out there and been producing for a long time on a big stage, which, like, I don't see a player like that wanting to come to a program in a situation like this. Like, it's going to be on a lot of unknowns. It's going to be on a lot of unknowns. Like,
yeah, but also this team hasn't had money to grab guys like that until now. I think this program hasn't.
But does it have the money to grab it now? They might have more money, but do they have the money to grab that type of player?
They have the money to grab a better type of player than they were grabbing in the portal. Your Sean Phillips are going to turn into bigger names.
I hope so.
They should. And you're also going to have more money to retain guys. You know, Warren and Cambridge and Jemiah last year almost just were leaving for money. Like that is the only reason why they left. That is the main reason why they left. And you're going to have money to retain those guys this year, especially your best two players, I would argue, in Frankie and Adam. But yeah, there's a lot of things. U of A's playing a basketball game right now.
Oh, geez, are they?
Yeah, the score is 19-14. Blow them out already. Wildcats, what are we doing?
It's kind of pathetic.
Come on, it is pathetic.
It's like, come on.
Houston's up 16-0.
Ooh.
Yeah, Houston.
Ooh, no, that doesn't bode well for my bet.
Yeah, sorry, bud. Yeah, I know you're feeling TCU in your bones, but I feel like your bones lied to you.
You can get TCU at plus 3,000 right now. Anybody?
You might have to take that. I mean, listen, man, 19-14, U of A taking on USC. USC had a really good first round. Boogie Ellis did some numbers in that. And obviously I'm pulling for USC. I mean, obviously. But the reality is I think U of A is a little upset about their last meeting. And I think that they want to make a point because they know that once they get out of this tournament into the next one, that it's only going to be like 2 games. So they want to make their impact now.
DePaul did officially hire that former Ohio State coach.
JJ says. He did?
Yeah. That was never an option. Bobby was never going to DePaul.
Oh, not Bobby for DePaul, but
Bobby was never, ever going to DePaul. MC asking, who are we confident in retaining? I said before, I'm pretty confident that Adam Miller and Frankie will be back. Pretty confident. I'm very confident in Frankie. I'm pretty confident Adam Miller will be back.
Coach Evan B saying Crow is 68. He's got to be getting close. It's our only hope.
Whoa.
Come on, bro. I thought he meant to retiring. That's what I thought he meant. Retiring. And then I read it. And I'm like,
hopefully we're gonna act like he meant retiring.
He's not gonna retire.
Well, also Coach MB did bring up earlier that he says that this athletic department can't succeed without a president that cares, and I disagree, because there are a lot of presidents out there that the athletics is not their main goal. Like, and it would help if he put a bigger emphasis on it. But as long as you get an athletic director that is allowed to do what they want, and most of the time they are allowed to do what they want, it's not Ray Anderson. You should be setting yourself up for success.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't need the president to care about sports more than other things, but I need the president to care. And I don't think that he cares.
Coach Evan B said retirement.
Okay. Yeah. See, yeah. And that's how I took it. Like, and I don't think, like, you look at him, he's in a very honestly powerful position at a very major university, and he's turned it around and turned it into something academically, nationally, that it wasn't when he first started. I don't think that's something he's going to let go of soon. When he talks about his plans for ASU and everything revolving around it, it doesn't sound like he's going to be done anytime soon. I wouldn't be banking on a retirement. I would, if you're a Sun Devil fan, just get comfortable with the fact that Michael Crow is going to be the president of ASU for probably a significantly long time. I'd be surprised if it was less than another decade, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Clint complimenting my shirt. Yeah, I had to wear it because we're going to Big 12 country.
Big 12 country's coming here too, because there is a Buc-ee's coming to Arizona.
Okay. Well, there are good things and there are bad things about what this offseason could look like, but there's only good things at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Nobody does it better. They offer an authentic and immersive experience. And as I said the other day, they got craps tables with your favorite teams on them. Like, what else could you want? We also got watch parties coming up at the Wild Horse Pass Resort and Casino. That place is a vibe. Their dining is fantastic. If we talked about the rooftop restaurant they have, it's such a vibe there. Plus their gaming floor, aside from the craps tables, they have tons of blackjack opportunities, tons of poker, tons of everything you could want, 800 plus slot machines. It's so fun, and their largest casino sportsbook in Arizona. So make sure to head out to Gila River Resorts and Casinos and let them show you what the next level is all about. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playathila.com for more details.
Yes, Gila is one of the great things about this state, one of the great things you can go out and experience. But not only can you experience great things indoor at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, you can go outdoors and experience all the amazing nature that this state has to offer. But what if I also told you, Shane, that while you go out there and visit some of these iconic landscapes and places across the state, you could win a lot of money.
I love that.
You love that?
Love hearing that.
Then you love the new promotion from our friends over at AZ Lottery. Arizona Lottery is introducing a unique new ticket promotion called Arizona Adventure. There are 3 ways to play win big. You got your classic scratchers that feature 3 iconic landscapes from across the valley. These tickets have prizes up to $50,000. That's a good chunk of change that you can take to Gila River Resorts and Casinos if you like. Plus, you can also check in at geolocated adventures at 10 destinations from across the state, anywhere from Flagstaff to Yuma. Like, if you look, they have a place near you if you live in the state of Arizona. And when you check in, you get entered online for a chance to win $1 million in cash and Arizona travel prices. So you can buy the scratcher, go on a hike, check in on your geolocated on the geolocation on the app, and you can get entered to win even more money. It's truly a win-win. And here's the third win here. A portion of all sales go towards conservation of Arizona's environment and wildlife and other initiatives across the state. You win, the state wins. You can go touch some grass before it's 115 degrees outside, which I would highly recommend. Or some dirt, mostly some dirt. But do that now because it will be 115 degrees before you know it. So today it's like low 70s. I think tomorrow it's going to be some mid 70s, maybe some rain.
No, tomorrow is the high is like 63 or 65.
65 and raining tomorrow. But then this weekend, I think it gets back into the
Chili burger.
70s. Guys, it's time to go enjoy the outside, and it's maybe time to bring some money back once you do that. So go ahead and visit azadventure.com for more information about how you can take an adventure for a chance to win $1 million in cash and Arizona travel prizes.
We're going to continue to take this adventure, hopefully up and even more up with ASU Athletics coming soon. I as I said before, I think this is the valley, and we're ascending to the peak now. We're starting. We're at
You have to start somewhere.
We're still at base camp. We're looking up, and we're like, okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
This is the point of the movie where everybody's like, man, things really need to change. And then they will. And then before you know it, you're going to look back. There was a point with ASU football where there was no hope.
Yeah.
And now there's hope.
Well, I mean, yeah,
There's hope.
There was no hope when Herm came back.
But that's what I'm saying.
And
is
it
like,
took a loss to Eastern Michigan. Utah is not Eastern Michigan, but this was, as we talked about, there were some comparisons.
Yeah.
Coach M&B bringing some good vibes. If you want some hope, Kansas State finished 10th in the Big 12, and they are part of the first 4 out on bracketology. So ASU just needs to finish 9th to get into the tournament. Yeah, I mean, you're playing a shit ton of quad 1 games. Like you are. You just got to compete. You got to compete night in and night out, and I think the guys will bring it. Erik, anything else before we get out of here?
One thing on that, and where the move the Big 12, where right now for where this program stands, it is going to be probably a little tough in a transition period, but for both football and for basketball to be on a stage like that, like you're going to be hitting a different demographic, and especially a different demographic of recruits. And if these two coaches, Bobby Hurley, Kenny Dillingham, can use that and say, maybe we're not successful now, but get some players to believe in them and to buy in, stuff like this can turn around. It's not going to be microwave. Like Kenny will show you, you're not just going to come in and change it in a year. Not even Dion can do that. Like, it's going to take some time, but it can happen. So it's the move to the Big 12, while it's scary now, it could be a good thing for this program.
Yeah, and I think it will be. And another thing that brings us more money, and it's always good for more money to play around with. Guys, thanks for everybody joining us. Clint, Coach MB, Tad, Mark, MC, JJ. Love you guys all. JJ, I appreciate the kind words, and I will not leave again next year for ASU basketball, because when you leave the kids unmonitored, shit gets crazy apparently, and then they lose by 36 points until Dad comes back.
We might need you out there playing, brother.
Yeah, I think I'm going to need to suit up. Defense! Guys, it's been a pleasure. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Shane D. You can follow Erik on Twitter at Erik Ruby, Erik with a K. You can follow the show on Twitter at PHNX_Sun Devils. And you can follow PHNX_sports across all socials, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Here's to finding the next Zane Meeks. We'll see you guys tomorrow at noonish. And until then, enjoy your Thursday. Kick back, drink a Four Peaks, watch the great conference tournaments going on right now, and do as little work as possible. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.